A wise man once said, "It's best to love your fate." I disagree. Welcome to Deep Thoughts While Gaming. I'm Chris Chappell. Do you think about Rome every day? If so, then there's a chance you've at least dabbled in Stoicism. Self-control, arrived at through logic and reflection. In simplest terms, Stoicism is about accepting what you can't control as a way of finding peace, and reconciling with destructive emotions. Zeno of Citium, who is thought to be the founder of Stoicism, says the goal of life is living in agreement with nature. Considering the constant mystery and tragedy in the world, to live in harmony with nature involves a lot of acceptance and the ability to let things go. Especially when being eaten by a zombie. That's the lesson of Telltale Games' The Walking Dead, a video game series based on the TV show, based on the comics. Kinda like Street Fighter the movie, the game. The gameplay is minimal. Unlike other games where the focus is on developing your skills or laying out a brilliant strategy toward victory, immersion in the story is the whole purpose. The gameplay consists of walking around and choosing who to talk to, picking from a few options of what to say, and easy quick-time events that the game will not proceed from until the player is successful, being less an element of gameplay and more about suspenseful storytelling. You're left to put yourself in the shoes of your character. But despite the veneer of a choose-your-own adventure, all the different branches in the story ultimately lead back to a similar ending, regardless of the choices made by the player. Sure, there will be superficial differences depending on what you said and did to get there, but your fate is ultimately out of your hands. All you can do is accept it. A common misunderstanding of Stoicism is to say that it promotes passivity. A friend gets pulled through a window to become an all-you-can-eat buffet for the undead. It's not that you don't grieve or get hungry. The Stoic is not an unfeeling stone man who has escaped from emotion in its entirety, nor is he nihilistic, with his acceptance of the uncontrollable coming from a lack of care. Rather, Stoicism is highly introspective. The Stoic allows themselves to feel naturally, but processes those inner thoughts before acting rashly, finding peace and harmony with those emotions, which is what grants the ability to proceed with logic. Emotions, even the harmful ones that shouldn't be acted on, are part of nature, and to reject them is to disable your ability to live harmoniously with nature. Nowhere is that better captured in the popular Stoic phrase, amor fati, which is Latin for lover of plus-sized models. Wait, I'm being told it actually means love of one's fate. Huh. Everything from pleasure and happiness to tragedy and loss is seen as necessary. This phrase was popularized by Friedrich Nietzsche in Ecce Homo, where he wrote, "My formula for greatness in a human being is amor fati," that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity, not merely bear what is necessary, still less conceal it. All idealism is mendacity in the face of what is necessary, but love it. As people, we control very few of the forces that affect us constantly. Our dialogue wheel, limited. To struggle against a tide we can't control is to cling to a problem that you can't solve, which will only serve to harm you, with no help of resolution, instead of fighting it or even tolerating it. Amor fati says to take it in stride and embrace these uncontrollable forces as a necessary part of nature. The Walking Dead perfectly encapsulates amor fati, since the player goes in knowing there are only a certain amount of predefined endings. The fate of your character is largely out of your control, and what little impact you have boils down mostly to deciding what kind of breakfast your character has, or their word choices during conversation. No matter how good the player is at the point-and-click shooting mini-games, no matter how fast the player can mash a key in the QuickTime event, it will not change the fate of their character. Playing the game skillfully is not rewarded, and that's because it isn't the point, and the player understands this. Nobody who loves The Walking Dead loves it because of the gameplay. Its allure is purely from the storyline, and the gameplay elements serve just as a way to boost immersion and attachment to the character. To be more invested in the storyline than the gameplay of the game is to create an attachment to the characters and plot over finding an optimal strategy or blasting zombies requires a resignation to whatever the writers had planned. This is a love of fate. The lessons of the ancient Roman Stoics can benefit us even today, 2,000 years later. Just in case you haven't heard yet, It's actually an election year in the US. I'm sure it's no secret to you, but a lot of Americans feel pretty disillusioned with their options. Considering the age of some of the candidates, it's starting to feel like it really is The Walking Dead. When you don't want either candidate to win, or when you don't think your vote can make a difference because your state leans one way or the other, what's the point of going to the polls at all? Why bother? Judging by the turnout rates for US elections, a lot of people conclude that voting just isn't worth their time. But before you succumb to that thinking and decide to stay home on election day, consider this. What if you approach this election year in the way that a Stoic would? Have your opinions, feel your discontent. All that is natural. Yet in the face of those valid thoughts and emotions, make the choice to exercise what power you do have anyway. If you truly hate both presidential candidates, there are ways to show that with your vote more efficiently than your abstinence. Vote third party, or mar the ballot. Make a silly write-in candidate, or vote for Chris Chappell for Supreme Leader for life. Will it directly affect who wins the presidency? Of course not, but you already resigned yourself to that fate before you even showed up. At least this way, there are more total votes, with the main two parties having one total vote fewer. This way, you're counted as dissatisfied with both of the parties, rather than a lazy, apathetic millennial, or a communist who hates democracy and wants to see America burn. You're not a communist though, are you? But beyond the presidential election, there is an important down ballot with smaller and more local elections that will probably have more impact on your immediate circumstances than the presidency would anyway. Every Senate Class 1 seat is up for election. All 435 seats in the House of Representatives are up for election. 11 states have gubernatorial elections. 10 states are holding attorney general elections. 7 states have secretary of state elections. Several major cities have mayoral elections. The list goes on. No matter how powerless and discouraging US democracy can be, instead of focusing on the hopelessness and the nihilism it carries, try to use a Stoic lens and exercise what power you do have. Of course, there's also the chance that you love one of the dinosaurs and are jazzed up to vote for them. I'm happy for you, maybe even a little envious. But you can still benefit from a Stoic mindset. Like the unhappy voter, your feelings are also valid, and you don't need convincing to get to the polls. But that doesn't immunize you from harmful feelings afterward. I mean, what if your guy loses? The Stoic would avoid agonizing over undesirable results and ruminate instead on the best way forward for themselves. This isn't to downplay your passions. An informed and passionate democracy is a strong one. But before you grab that horned, double-tailed coonskin cap, ask yourself what's in your own best interest. From left to right, hopeful to hopeless, excited to dreading, we could all learn a thing or two from Stoicism. So this November, do your best to love your fate. And hey, at least your fate isn't having your face ripped off by a horde of zombies, so there's that. Unless your face gets ripped off by a horde of communists, vote Chris Chappell Supreme Leader for life. Thank you for watching Deep Thoughts While Gaming. And remember, if you're feeling disappointed with the end of the Walking Dead TV series, though your feelings are valid, you probably would have been better off watching Hard Rock Zombies, the best zombie movie ever. Accept your fate. Hit that join button to get access to exclusive videos and emojis, a Discord server, live streams, and my boots stamping on your face forever. And if you do think about Rome every day, check out this video about Rome and the Nephilim.